how many of you guys are actually startups versus how many of you guys are working for big companies or versus academia? How many of you guys in startups? Oh, cool. You guys all own your startup? Cool. What about big companies? Great. What about academia? Or how many of you guys want to do a startup? How many of you guys want to do a startup?
Cool.
Awesome. Right. All right. So I think Steve actually gave a very good overview of what Big Fusion is. I won't bore you guys with what we do. We are essentially what we do is we speed up applications without changing code. Sometimes even by an order of magnitude. As he said, we leverage GPUs and FPGAs. We are at booth 2708. That's our booth. So please check us out. So I'm going to talk about three things. Since it's a founder story. Purpose, people, and path. So I'll tell you how all these things connect to Bit Fusion and the founding of Bit Fusion somehow. So for purpose, I'm going to show you maybe a 10-second clip. So essentially, this basically is right. What if normal people have access to high performance computing? What could people do? What if something that was just limited for a few privileged people? If it's available to regular people, what could people do? Fundamental innovations have happened, from transistors to everything, is because some hacker basically got their hands on something and then they came up with something intriguing. So that was the purpose of how Bit Fusion started and how my career personally started. So I basically I was born in India. I basically lived there for majority of my life. I came to this country to study and fell in love with this country because this country promotes entrepreneurship really well. Just decided to stay here. I've been here for about 12 years. And I've been in Austin for about 10 years now. And in fact, my co-founders, Mazhar, he's actually standing in the back. He's our company's CTO, and my co-founder, his family immigrated from Pakistan to the United States. And my other co-founder, Maciej, he immigrated from Poland to here. So the reason I'm saying that is if you have basically a purpose, basically do whatever it takes, to go where you want. And the reason, I came here is because I just thought, the opportunities in this country is phenomenal in terms of education, in terms of technology, in terms of doing new things. It's just amazing. People accept failures, which is great. If you guys, in other countries, when you fail, it's very hard to come back because people put a stigma on you if you fail. So the primary purpose is actually something that we basically thought was very important for Bit Fusion. And primarily the whole point of we starting the company was there were so many different web companies that are out there. There's an Airbnb for this, there's Uber for that. There's a restaurant maker for this. There's another iPhone app, an Android app, this, that, and everything. And in fact, I actually started a company which actually started building iPhone apps. That's how I actually got out of Intel and actually got into software. But then after I did that, I was actually telling myself that why would I want to do something that somebody else could easily replicate? Why am I not doing something really hard? There's only so much time you're going to live in this world. You want to do something that basically keeps your name. One of my biggest inspirations is Steve Jobs, where he's not here, but everybody carries an iPhone or an Android or some kind of phone. It basically created a legacy, right? The same thing with the guys who founded Intel. So that's that's one of the reasons we basically, and my co-founders shared the same, same view. Mazar, Mache, they shared the same view, and that's how we came together to basically start with Fusion, to say that, hey, you know what, we don't want to be doing something that that everybody does. You have only one chance, do it really, really well. So we said, okay, let's tackle some hard problems, which is HPC. Nobody, in fact, some gentleman was talking about how do you actually get, funding for HPC and etc. And I'll actually tell about, how we actually did fundraising in the past. We actually used the word HPC, but then quickly realized that that doesn't work. So we removed HPC, when we started raising money. So yeah, I mean, it's because hard things are hard. So people actually don't have patience, right? VCs don't have patience. Nobody has patience. Nobody wants to do it. Because people want to just build an app, make some money, and be the next Facebook or the next Snapchat or the next Pinterest. But yeah, so that's the reason we started Big Fusion, because what we want to do was we want to basically take really hard technologies and bring it to normal people. So that's the that's the purpose, right? The second thing that's actually very important is the people. It actually played a very, very important role in our company, in the founding of our company. So the only commonality we all had was we all worked at Intel, right? Mazar and I actually worked in a group at Intel where we were basically doing post-silicon for Atom, one of the SoCs of Atom. And then Mache and I basically worked in a different group at Intel where we basically worked on Intel Xeon Phi. Sometimes we actually take people for granted when we actually work in places, but those are the best places to find your co-founders, right? If you actually want to start a new company or whatever, and sometimes a great place to actually find relationships as well. So this basically people made a very huge impact for a company. So one thing I always do is wherever I work, wherever I do, I basically have a mental spreadsheet, or even actually sometimes I used to have a real spreadsheet of people who I want to actually work with. If I say if I want to do this, this is the person I want to actually work with in the future. This person, if I want to do that, I want to actually work with this person in the future. Always maintain a huge list of spreadsheet, because that hey, you need to basically at some point work with that person, right? So people is a very, very important thing that actually made a huge impact for our company. And I think in every company people matters a lot, right? The team matters quite a bit, right? Because without the team, there's no company. In fact, Blake was selling that. How do you sell HPC? You don't sell HPC, you sell the team, right? Because if there's a smart team, yeah, they'll figure it out, right? However long it takes. So yeah, we all actually worked in different groups at Intel. Somehow we all actually came together, at Intel. And in fact, Mache had left Intel. He basically left Intel. He worked for Samsung, and Mazar had left that group. He worked in a different group, worked in data center. And I had left Intel to basically start a company, and then basically did some stint at Dell Labs. Then 4 years later, out of the blue, so Mache and I basically I texted Mache saying, hey, hey, let's actually go and grab lunch, because I was kind of bored at Dell Labs. It was cool, it's like skunk works and fun, but then it's a big company. Right, so I basically said, I'll just use this as a parking space. So let me actually start thinking about the next thing. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but the thing I wanted to do was I didn't want to build another app company or a marketing automation company or some random company like that. So we basically had lunch at Korea House, and I was just telling Mache that, hey, what do you think about this? And Mache was like, yeah, no, this makes sense. And then we were like, hey, who else can we actually bring in to actually do something pretty intriguing? The first person that came to my mind was Mazar. Right, because we had worked, and Mazar is one of the sharpest guys I've actually worked at Intel. An amazing person, a great person, like more than the sharpest person. Empathetical. So we met at Mozart's. Just Mache, myself, and Mazar. We met at Mozart's and say, hey, we want to do something. We have no idea what we want to do, but we want to do something that basically is bringing some hard tech. Let's actually do something with hard tech. So we spent a lot of weekends, a lot of evenings, just working on it. We basically, we used to use WhatsApp to basically just talk to each other. So we would be talking about this every night and weekends. And then one fine day we said, okay, we kind of came up with this idea of, we want to do something with basically takes FPGAs and GPUs, and those are very hard to program, right? Because it's only left for very few privileged people. How do you actually bring it to the rest of the world, like the cloud people? So we said, okay, maybe and basically speed up application, because we know that when we work in Intel, we've used FPGAs, we've used GPUs in certain things to speed up things. But in the regular world, the whole cloud's built a homogeneous hardware, because that's what people know. If you ask so many web developers, people who video rendering, people do whatever applications, they all use like homogeneous hardware. We said, how do we actually bring this heterogeneous hardware to people, right, to speed up applications? Because we know that if you put good hardware, you can speed up applications. That's no magic. But the challenge is the middle layer. So we said, hey, we can actually figure it out. We'll probably be able to write something and figure it out. So we actually, one of my very good friends, Jacqueline, she basically was telling us, hey, we should actually, talk to Blake, who was actually visiting here for office hours for Techstars. So we just had a chat with Blake. Maza and I was actually, talking to Blake. We were just telling about, what we are actually thinking of doing. We had some kind of a prototype. It was not really a prototype, but some kind of a thing. He said, hey, you know what? You guys should apply to Techstars. So we basically applied to Techstars, and we got in, and then we left our jobs. In fact, we all left our jobs at the same day, and in fact, it's actually, for Mazar, it was his 10th year anniversary at Intel. So he basically left exactly on the 10th year at Intel. So yeah, it was pretty significant. So we all left, right? And pretty much, at the dinner, we were just talking about, man, we left our jobs. What the hell are we going to do? We hope this works out, right? What if it doesn't work out, right? So because it's hard, because we've been getting like amazing paychecks. I mean, if you work in a semiconductor company, you get great paychecks. Sometimes even up to $250,000. Like now you do basically no salary, try to live, right? So we said, yeah, let's do that. On top of that, the incubator that we applied to, it was in San Antonio. So we got to basically pack our bags, move from Austin to San Antonio, the place we lived in for 10 years, moved to San Antonio for a few months. So we did, right? So we basically, literally put everything in a U-Haul, and basically, just like college, buddies, right? Like 10 years ago, like just packed our bags and took a place and, just moved. Moved to Techstars, right? So the third thing, I forgot to update the slides, I should have said the path. The third thing is the path. So when we went to Techstars, the path started. So this was our first office in our Techstars. Actually, it was our living room. Basically, we actually took some chairs and stuff, so that became our office. Yeah, so we even had like a sleeping mat over there to sleep and stuff, and we had a very noisy computer over there. I almost thought I'm going to become deaf. We had like a big super micro system, which we probably just overheating and stuff. So this was our first office. We were in Techstars. Techstars added a lot of value. We did everything that Blake said. No, we did not. We actually, so one of the things we did was we basically said, okay, let's take, Blake and the Techstars community helped us quite a bit, right? Because we actually wanted to do something, but we didn't know how to do certain things. So they kind of helped us put some structures, the KPIs. We used to have this thing where Wednesday meetings where we need to actually tell what we did the last week. Sometimes we used to punch the numbers and basically show some KPIs sometimes. And what it is, right? But then we realized that, hey, in our path, we need to actually figure out, like in HPC, you need survival. Like in a startup, the biggest thing is you need to survive for a really, really long time. If you want to survive, what you need is money. Like you said, okay, in order to do that, let's actually do whatever the minimum we need to do in terms of building an initial technology demo, and let's go and raise some money. So we start attracting capital, right? So in HPC, one of the things that I would, one feedback I have is, if you want to do a startup in HPC, go and raise a lot of money, because if you don't raise a lot of money, you're not going to be able to survive, because you need to run a lot of experiments. Some experiments might work, some experiments not work. It's not like, computer science, these are hard problems, right? This is not like a logical approach where, hey, a plus, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes you just don't know what works and what doesn't work. So we raised some money. Thankfully we had some, really good investors, who actually believed in. We actually told all our investors that, hey, look, if you guys are actually putting money in us for like making a quick buck, please don't invest in us, because it is actually, it's going to be a long haul. And so Techstars has this thing called Demo Day. So we actually opened the floodgates, to actually raise money. And one thing we said was, we need to actually close this thing like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So we said, in 2 to 3 weeks we need to close this thing. And thankfully we actually, we started the fundraising process, and for 2 weeks we pretty much got everything committed. And yeah, so and then we pretty much we were able to raise a really good successful round. We raised money from a few guys in Silicon Valley, We raised money from a few guys in the Midwest, and we raised money from a few guys in San Antonio. So yeah, it was fantastic. It was actually, I would say, it's easier than I had expected. So we did not do a slide deck. We did not do a business plan because we just don't know. I mean, we knew that this is the vision, this is what we need to sell and think. I mean, we didn't all numbers and stuff you put it. It's not going to you can't back it up. Right? I can come up with numbers, but it's going to change. It's a startup, right? When investors are investing in seed, they should know. So yeah, so we raised some money, and and thankfully all our investors are amazing guys. They basically support us completely in everything that we do. And in fact, I actually have one of my investors here. Andrea is actually one of our investors.
It was the funniest investment I ever made. He called and I said I want to invest, and I committed. And then like 10 minutes later, the phone rings. And I'm like, hey, Subbu, what's up? He's like, I just want to make sure you really want to invest. Yeah, I want to make sure that you really know you could lose all your money. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That'd be great. That's good.
and we did that to every investor that we actually that put money in us.
It's really actually very, very, I loved it.
Yeah, so because we actually want to make sure that, because it's hard-earned money, right? We don't want to lose somebody's money. So and then we raised money, and then we kind of took our technology and basically went to TechCrunch, and we basically showed our tech at TechCrunch, and we were basically a finalist at one of the battlefield competition, which gave us a lot of exposure, and the timing was perfect too, because that was the time when Intel acquired Altera or announced to acquire Altera. So the timing for us raising money and doing these things are amazing, right? So sometimes in HPC raising money, timing also matters quite a bit. And this is our office. Our office is actually on Congress. It's actually at the Techstars office on Congress and 4th. Don't think he's the only guy working. He comes early, so I was there. I just took a picture. So yeah. And if you guys ever feel the conference is actually boring, you want to actually kind of get a feel of how Techstars looks like, please come to Techstars. It's basically on top of a bar called Speakeasy. So that's where Techstars is. And today we are also announcing 2 products. Come check us out at our booth. 2 products. One is called the Boost, which basically is acceleration technology. It's a software that you install and speeds up your application in your data center or in your cloud. The second product is a product called Cloud Adapter, which essentially is a product for developers. Like how many times you guys have installed Xilinx tools and Altera tools and GPU tools, OpenCL or CUDA. It's so painful. So we basically built. It actually came as a byproduct of Boost. It's a product where, from my Mac, I can basically run any kind of heterogeneous hardware. I can just open up my Mac, write some code in Sublime, and pretty much get access to, like many heterogeneous hardware directly from a Mac. You don't need to log into a cloud. You don't need to SSH to anything. You just can run it on your Mac. So to check this out, come check us out at our booth. It's 2708. That's our booth. We're also having happy hour on Wednesday from 5 p.m. So yeah, check us out at Intuition. Hope it was useful.
So much, Subbu. We have time for 1 or 2 questions.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay.
The hardest thing you experienced in the past 3 years?
The hardest thing, choice is the hardest thing that I experienced, making choice, right? Sometimes there are like multiple choices that you have. For example, it may be like, hey, should I pick this, let's say in a startup, should I pick this vertical or this vertical? Sometimes priorities, right? Hey, should I do this feature or that feature? Sometimes can we quit our job and go to San Antonio or not? So choice was the toughest thing. Even today, choice is still the toughest thing I think every entrepreneur faces, and I face it too.
Was there one?
You had said that during that 2 to 3 week phase when you raised the first round of funding that you did not do a demo nor do a slide deck.
I did a demo. I did not do a slide deck.
Okay.
Yes, I did a demo. I did not do a slide deck, not a business plan.
Okay. And I'm going to ask sort of a just thought question, but do you think that would have happened if the 3 of you, if only one of you had been at Intel for a period of time and the other 2 were junior engineers?
Probably
or was
not.
that funding purely because we've got 3 people with a 10-year career at Intel in this field?
I think it's mostly
It's the
because
nature
of the
versus nurture question.
Absolutely,
right?
it's completely because of. I think in a startup, I think really the most important thing is the team. Everything else we can figure it out, and good investors know that. So yeah, and yes, in our case, it was completely because of the team. Yes, and yeah.
Could you give me an example of, you said it was really hard to choose between 2 verticals. Could you give an example of 2 verticals where you were like, which was really hard for you to decide between, and then you picked one? Just
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a sense of the granularity at which you were really.
Absolutely. For example, right, in our applications, right, we can actually speed up, applications. So we can speed up applications in media, and we can speed up applications in scientific computing, okay? So we basically had to go and actually validate in one of these two verticals and both are big enough verticals. And we just picked, scientific computing to start with.
But not media.
Not media to
Okay.
start with, right? And then later on, we said, okay, once we actually proved our thing in scientific computing, then we actually, start proving it to media.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your experiences.